Township Planning Commission, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
and to the
and
republic
to
that
the
stands
one
one nation, indivisible, with
indivisible,
liberty.
and justice for all. Under God.
We forgot a couple things.
Yes.
Yeah, are we there yet? All right. Is the minutes of the June 1st, 2020 meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review those? And if so, are there any changes, corrections, alterations? If not, I'd like somebody to make a move.
I think we move to accept the minutes as presented.
Okay, anybody second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Like, is it unanimous? Okay, very good. Thank you, everybody. Now we have to consider or discuss the Cora Act 537 Plan Asset Transfer discussion. I'm sure that everybody has digested the entire 75 pages of this that we received. Pretty much what it means is that the entire Cora program, which is a massive wastewater management program, is going to be sold. All the assets of every nature, that's all the land, all the rights, all the machinery, all the equipment, all other contracts that Cora is the beneficiary of. The entire kit and caboodle is going to be sold to Aqua Pennsylvania Inc., which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Essential Utilities, a Pennsylvania corporation, a publicly traded corporation. Roger, I understand there's not going to be anybody here from Cora or from Aqua to tell us about this, but Roger's going to be here to answer any questions that we have, as well as to give a much further explanation than I just did in greater detail as to why this is happening. So Roger, take it away.
Thanks, John. You pretty much covered everything that I was going to cover. You did a very good job of summarizing that. So what it is, as John mentioned, was Cora is the wastewater authority. It's the Delaware County Regional Authority, which owns a large wastewater treatment plant in the city of Chester and owns a large collection and conveyance system. And I'm sure you've seen in the papers over the last 6 months to a year, but they've decided to sell their system to Aqua Pennsylvania. It's been a recent trend lately that a lot of municipalities have looked at and have sold their wastewater assets to a private company for a number of reasons. So Cora has gone down this road to sell their system to Aqua. As part of the process of this, the Pennsylvania DEP requires that the Act 537 plan that governs Cora, which also governs 40-some municipalities in Delaware County, they require that the 537 plan be amended to consider the sale of the assets. And what's before you tonight is an amendment to that 537 plan that was prepared for Cora, that the selected option, as you see in the document, is the transfer of assets to Aqua Pennsylvania. So as part of this process, what happens is there's a public notification for 30 days, which has taken place. And there's also a 60-day notification to all of the planning commissions of the member municipalities that contribute to Cora. And that's what's before you tonight. As part of the plan, they asked for planning commission to provide comments, if any, on the sale. And all that's being considered tonight before you is the transfer of the assets, the sale of the system to Aqua Pennsylvania. So if any members of the board have any comments that they would like to forward back to Cora, either in favor, against, or indifferent, whatever the comments are you may be, you have the opportunity to make those comments, and Steve and I will put them into writing for you on your behalf and forward that on your behalf back to Cora. So
But they're not looking for us to make have some sort of a vote in which we approve or disapprove
No.
what's going on here.
No, it's just providing comments. The document was provided to this planning commission as it was provided to 47 other planning commissions, I believe the number is, and they're just looking for the comments from that.
When I read this over, I mean, I do have some comments. It's pretty much of a done deal as I understand it. And I certainly understand one of the reasons for the motivation, which is behind all of this are rules and regulations being promulgated by the Federal Department of Environmental Protection, as well as the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, which in order to bring the Del Cora system into full alignment is going to cost, somebody said in the middle, some large number with a lot of zeros after it, about $1 billion altogether over the next 10 or 15 years, as I understand it. But one of my complaints, and it's probably too late, I guess, is that it says that Del Cora evaluated 2 alternatives. Alternative number 1, no action alternative. And the other one is to sell to Del Cora. I mean, I would like to have seen in all of this paperwork a hard dollar number that would have said, okay, what is it going to cost if we don't sell to this corporation? I mean, one of the things that I'm concerned about is that Aqua is a publicly traded corporation. It has shareholders. They don't pay a whopper dividend, but they pay a pretty steady $1 or $2 a share pretty regularly, and they expect to make a profit. I mean, it's not a non-profit company. So I don't think we're going to get any free lunch here. I don't think we're going to come out any better in the long run. In the past, where things have been privatized, things start out happy-dory in the beginning, but the increases are going to be there. I mean, Aqua is even though it's a private corporation, it's in a utility function, so it is regulated by the PUC. So they're not a total entrepreneurship doing whatever the hell the market will bear, but they will be passing along costs. As a matter of fact, in their proposed documents that they're going to, I went to their 10K and I read over the 10K, at least the part that I'm interested in. And they have something which they have in all of their documents and all their contracts. It's called an infrastructure rehabilitation surcharge. Now you'd have to be a CPA to sit down and figure out what all that does in terms of real impact. But the thrust of it is that there's no free lunch. If they have to rebuild the pumps and the pumping stations and infrastructure, that gets passed along to the ratepayers. And one of the questions that I have is, well, how is that recaptured? And I don't know. I mean, I know the deal's going to come down. I'd also like to see what is the number here? There's apparently Del Cora is about $2.7 million in debt, and they're going to satisfy that debt. They're going to satisfy that. I'm sorry, that's what they're selling it for. Is that right? What's that number, Roger?
275 million.
It's 275
million.
Yes.
Right. And then it says
And I believe, I don't know this, I believe from what I saw in the newspapers, that after satisfying the debt, I believe the net will be somewhere in the neighborhood of 210 million.
Okay. See, that should have been in here, I think, because they're going to use that 210 million, if that's what it's going to turn out to be in some sort of a trust, that will help moderate the cost to ratepayers such as all of us. And but there's nothing in here to say, well, how long is that going to last? Del Cora is essentially going to cease to exist. Who's going to be the trustee? Who's going to administrate it? Who's going to oversee it? Is there some methodology where it can be replenished? These are all unanswered questions. I don't think there's going to be any questions. I don't think they're going to get answered, to tell you the truth. But I'm just saying all this because if somebody asks the question, we ought to be in a position to be able to give some sort of response. Now, having said all that, I do have to say that, because I was skeptical at first, but when I did a little investigation into Aqua, which, as I said, is now, they changed their name to
Okay.
Essential Utilities, Inc.,
Perfect, thank you.
does have extensive experience in wastewater management. I mean, there's no doubt about that. They are present in something like 32 or 33 of the 67 counties in Pennsylvania. And they do manage other systems like up in Cheltenham and upper Montgomery County, in communities that are, or I should say eastern Montgomery County, communities that are, like ours, in fact, even more densely populated than ours. So I'm sure that they can do a good job and they can handle this, but I don't think anybody should delude themselves into thinking that somehow or another, this is not going to cost us as much money as it might have cost us if Cora just went to the bank and borrowed $1.5 billion.
John, if I could, so Trish is going to go back to this recording tomorrow to take notes, and for each planning commission member,
Forget the pots.
I would request if you have specific questions. Hey, Charlie, could you mute your phone? Do you
Yeah,
mind?
it's interrupting. We're having a hard time hearing.
Perfect.
Good. Okay.
So what I would ask each of the planning commission members, if you have questions, comments, put them forth very clearly and succinctly. We'll make that list and we'll send that in. And to John's point, I mean, if you read the document, Cora lists two reasons, the reasons John noted why they wanted to sell the system, but there's no specificity to that. There's no numbers for that. They're saying we want to do it because of this. And in the end, I mean, they do have to get DEP approval to have this go through. So it's, but in talking with Matt and some others, I just want to make sure folks are perfectly clear. This is not about selling the Radnor Township system. Radnor Township flows into, we have our own system. It is owned and operated by Radnor Township. It flows into RHM, into Darby Creek Joint Authority, and then into Cora to Philadelphia South, to the Southwest Wastewater Treatment Plant, or treated by Cora. So I just want to make sure everybody understands this is not about the Radnor Township system. This is about one component, one system, albeit a large one, of how we get our wastewater down to Southwest Philadelphia Treatment Plant or to Cora. But any comments or questions you have, just be real clear that these are your comments, A, B, C, D, and then we can put them together and they will be the Planning Commission's comments or questions.
Who should we send those to?
If you could, send them to myself, and I will make sure, send them to myself and Trish. We'll make sure Roger gets them because we have his email. We'll put them together in some format from the Planning Commission, and we will copy you on what we send to Cora on this, or to DEP on this.
Yeah,
So
one
if
of the things I noted that I thought was kind of interesting, if you go to page 19, it seems to suggest that one of the things that Cora could do, but Aqua cannot do, is get federal funding to meet Clean Water Act and anti-degradation requirements of some Pennsylvania statutes, which makes sense because it's a publicly traded corporation, and that's a different animal altogether. But I assume that if Radnor will still remain part of the Radnor Marple
RHM, yes.
it still remains in that group, right?
Correct.
All municipalities, all those three municipalities, and so presumably those municipalities, including Radnor, could still apply for federal funds to help underwrite the costs of some of the treatment aspects wastewater aspects that Radnor Township and the townships that we're partnered with would require. And
Correct.
I guess that's okay. I guess that would be the case. That's, to me, that's important because we don't have the ability to raise funds the way a corporation like Aqua would be able to raise funds.
But that's correct, John. This transaction with Cora does not affect anything of Radnor, none of the Radnor assets, and Radnor does not give up any ability to apply for any funds, nor does the Radnor Haverford Marple Authority. This is just the people that provide treatment to wastewater from Radnor. So it directly doesn't affect the township in any way with what you said about applying for funds or getting grants, or it doesn't address any of Radnor's assets. They retain all their assets. There's nothing of Radnor being sold.
How does the billing to work with, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to this. I mean, Delcora obviously was billing
So
somebody.
we
So
pay RHM, right? We get billed annually by RHM. We pay them to the tune of $4 million a year. Radnor Township does. In that $4 million, RHM is paying Delcora. So from all the Tredyffrin pays into it, Radnor, Haverford, Marple, all of us who pay RHM, the cost to the other agencies is through RHM. So our only billing each year is with RHM.
Can I ask a question? If this transaction never happened, who would be responsible for upgrading the infrastructure?
Delcora would be, as they are now prior to any transaction. Delcora is required to comply with any regulations that come down the road, do all operations, maintenance, capital plans. It's under their requirements now for their system.
So theoretically, they would end up billing it back to us.
Theoretically, yes.
And so also I read in the newspaper that when they contemplated this transaction, it wasn't sent out to a number of other corporations or other companies to bid on it. It was basically one company. Is that right? It was only sent out to Aqua?
That's my understanding. And again, I probably have the same information as you do from the newspaper on that, but it was not done as an open bidding process. It was a negotiation.
I can maybe add a little bit on the bidding process. I don't think there's an open bid process, but there is a process by which the municipality, or I'm sorry, the assets within the utility are evaluated, and they're averaged between, I mean, there's like a professional evaluation done of the value of the assets. So it's not as though Aqua can necessarily just lowball and take, so there is some element of public, evaluation, and there's like an average. If one evaluator doesn't agree or one assessor doesn't agree, there's another one brought in. I mean, there's a system of evaluating the price. It's not just Aqua comes in with a dollar that they pulled out of left field. I mean, I know.
Correct.
But
And if anybody wants to be bored to death, I could probably take you through that process. I'm very familiar with it, but it's a long, arduous process in front of the PUC, following what's called Act 12, which requires several different asset evaluations. And like they said, they average them, they scrutinize them. The consumer advocate for the PUC takes it apart, upside, downside. It's a long process.
Just to be clear about the responsibility for maintenance and upgrades, the RHM group, even after this is even after Delcora is sold and it becomes Aqua, I think it's actually called Aqua Pennsylvania Wastewater, or Wastewater Pennsylvania Inc., something like that. Once that company has actually taken over and is running things, RHM still remains responsible for the maintenance and upgrades of their own system, correct?
Of their own system, yes. There's no transfer of assets from the RHM system. It's only what is currently owned by Delcora now is what's part of the asset transfer agreement. Delcora doesn't have the ability or the right to transfer anyone else's assets other than what they own. So
Delcora,
RHM,
not Delcora, but Aqua further down the road, if they determine that the RMH equipment requires an upgrade to comply, well, I'm sort of putting a rabbit in the hat, I guess, but can they require that we upgrade our system?
I do not believe so. I mean, each individual municipality or authority is responsible for their own system. Now, if you had substantial issues, I guess, that was creating problems downstream, they could probably, just like any municipality today could, go to DEP and say, hey, those guys up there in Radnor aren't doing what they need to do, and it's causing us problems down here. But they don't have any more authority than Cora does now, or any other authority along the way downstream has.
Obviously, Radnor system, or I should say the RHM system, has got to comply with, state and federal regulations too.
Yes, absolutely, as they do now.
So Charlie, one of the things to consider if you read into the document, several years ago, Philadelphia imposed some really stiff and heavy fines for wet weather overflows, high flows. So what Philadelphia did was say, we can't force you to fix your system, but if all you contributing guys don't fix your systems, you're going to be paying big penalties in that. So that's kind of one way how that works. And that's one of the reasons Cora is saying they wish to sell the system, so that these requirements for EPA, DEP, and their general infrastructure requirements can be met.
And in addition to that, so what you're considering tonight is just the transfer of assets, just the sale. I do know that there is a second part of this coming down the road in the future that is for improvements to the Cora system. And like Steve said, that the Cora system, part of the flow goes to the city of Philadelphia. And the city of Philadelphia a few years ago put together some very stringent requirements that have a big dollar price tag with them. It's almost a blank check, big dollar items that are coming down the road, because it's a lot of unknowns. So there is a second 537 update that'll be coming down the road in a couple of months that will be before you, similar, again, asking for your comments, that addresses substantial improvements to the Cora system in order to minimize any of the effects that this City of Philadelphia agreement will have on them. And the details of that will be put forth probably, I don't know the exact timeline, later on, early mid-fall. You'll see something from that.
Hey, Will, I have a question for Will. So does the Planning Commission have to give their comments tonight, or is it legal for them to chew this over and say, by the end of the day, Thursday, provide all your comments to Trish and Steve? Or does it have to be tonight?
I would prefer it be tonight, because I think otherwise your questions aren't really getting out to the public. I mean, I guess you could publicize them, but they wouldn't end up, as part of any public meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
The requirement on Cora side is that this comment period from the planning commissions all over the county concludes on August 31st. So Cora needs all of the input by August 31st, and then that'll be
runs out.
Then they'll be then they will address them as they see fit. They're not statutorily required to really address all of your comments necessarily. But they will be included once your comments come back to them. They will address them as they see fit, and they will include that in the plan, and that'll be an appendix to this plan that goes to the DEP.
So
And I'll say,
tonight,
I don't necessarily need. Sorry, Steve.
So based on what you said, I guess what we should do at one point is go planning commissioner to planning commissioner and ask them to provide their questions or comments tonight.
Yeah, and I'm just to be clear, I'm fine with polishing up the wording. I mean, if anybody's saying something and they don't quite articulate it the perfect way they wanted to, I don't think there's any issue with cleaning up your verbiage, but I wouldn't want, just brand new questions or concerns coming out of left field where they're not made public.
Oh, wait a second. We have the comment period runs for 60 days starting July 1st. I mean, we have another 30 days. I would think that by the end of next week, any planning commission member who wants to put something in writing and submit it to Steve for further processing. I don't think that's unreasonable.
I think as long as there's some discussion of it and you know, there's some discussion of whatever you're asking, yeah, I think that's fine.
Right, but we're having the discussion now, and I think
Yep.
that we can make whatever comments we want, because it looks like in September, there's not a precise date, but it says September 2020, address comments from the public and agencies, and receive resolutions of adoption from the municipalities. So I take it that, does Radnor as an individual municipality have to approve this, or is it approved through
Yes.
our
No, this will,
Each
once the,
municipality's got to approve it? Okay.
yes,
So you-
yes, once these comments are sent back to Delcora at the end of August, like I said, they will incorporate them as they see fit, include them in the plan to the appendix. And then the next step is this 537 plan comes back to the municipalities, to the boards of commissioners and boards of supervisors for a resolution of approval. And then that's included in the final plan that gets submitted to the DEP. So it'll be in
And
front of
happen
the
until
township
sometime in October.
commissioners. September or October, this will be back in front of the commissioners for the same comment and a request for a resolution of approval.
Well, anybody who wants to make is there anybody have anything else to add, or any members of the commission? Go ahead, Dave.
Hey, just a quick question. If once this transaction concludes and the plant, and as well as, I guess, all the other associated infrastructure gets transferred over to Aqua, will that absolve this the selling entity from any potential future liability?
Yes.
I don't know that I can answer that, but I know there is a very robust asset purchase agreement that's negotiated between the buyer and the seller, and I would think that there's probably some clause in there somewhere that keeps a little bit of liability somewhere.
Hey, Raj, I just have a spin-off question from what Dave just said. There's references through this plan of a partnership between Delcora and Aqua. And it says, you know, Delcora considered going into this partnership because of these reasons. What does that mean? What do you think that means? It sounds like it's not, it sounds like Delcora is still in the game in some way to me, but.
Yeah, I don't know that it's a partnership as necessarily a business partnership, a legally binding business partnership. It's my understanding that once the sale is approved by the PUC, the assets transfer wholly to Aqua Pennsylvania. And Delcora in their current state, I don't know the specifics of what they're going to do, because they're going to still have that trust that I read about in the newspaper. They're going to exist somehow. But I don't know that the Delcora board is going to be in partnership with Aqua Pennsylvania. I think what the term partnership means throughout this is working together to get to this point.
Okay, I get it.
And that's a great question that we can provide. Can be one of your questions or comments.
Sure.
That we do.
Also, I mean, I would just say that this whole sale is incredibly politicized right now. So Delaware County Council basically wants, they're suing in order to stop the trust from happening and from the sale from happening. That's not our business, and I understand that, but does that put this in a different light for us? I guess I'm just asking, maybe John actually would have more of a sense of, like, because it's out there that way.
No, I mean, this really, from a legal standpoint, would have no influence or impact whatsoever on Radnor Township or RHM, because we don't own any of these assets, and they don't have the right to sell our assets. I mean, it would be a funny situation if the whole deal blew up. we have our assets and no place to pump the stuff, but I don't think that would ever happen. And as far as this trust is concerned, I'm not a trust and estates type of lawyer. I really can't answer the questions. But again, I don't really I think the essence, the legal question would come down to whether or not Del Cora, as a creature of the state, has got the legal authority to hold a trust fund of money that arguably is public money, because all their funds come from the public. I mean, I can't answer that question, but it really wouldn't have too much of an effect. That money will go somewhere into some sort of a fund. The legislature may have to create a special.
If I can add to that, the consideration of the trust and what happens with the money is not part of this plan and is not part of what's in front of you tonight. That's outside of the realm of what this plan is considering.
Okay.
Yeah, as Charlie, as Roger said a couple of times, it's a straightforward asset purchase. They're buying everything. Now, the one thing that it's an interesting question that was brought up. I might have missed it. It may be in here someplace, but typically with an asset purchase in a business transaction, you're not buying the liabilities; you're just buying the assets, and you leave this shell. There's some laws, obviously, that require sometimes that there be some assets left to protect creditors and whatnot. But given the position of Aqua as a publicly traded company, regulated by the PUC, as insofar as wastewater management and water services are concerned, I just don't see a situation developing where debtors of Del Cora are left holding an air biscuit. I mean, they left with nothing. I mean, I don't see that happening. They're going to have to satisfy the debts, and it says right in the agreement that 200 of the purchase price. Roger thinks the number is someplace around 65 or 70 million dollars. They're going to settle all their debts. So that's part of the deal. That's part of the deal, and that doesn't bother. That's not if some suppliers to Del Cora want to start a lawsuit because they think they're owed more money than what they're going to be getting. If Del Cora wants to do the cram down on some of these guys and pay them a little bit less and get a discount, really has nothing to do with us.
And again,
Once
not
again,
not
our
part
stuff isn't part of theirs.
right. And again, not part of this plan, but I am familiar with a very robust asset purchase agreement that is between the buyer and the seller in any transaction such as this that would address all of your concerns that you were talking about right there.
So I guess my question will be, after this discussion, if you could all agree upon a date no later than to get the emails to Trish and myself with your comments or questions, we will package that, send that back to you to say, does this look good? And then we'll forward that on.
Today's Monday's shot. How about next Monday or Tuesday? Everybody get?
I was going to say Wednesday, 8/12, close of business. How's that?
That's fine.
Great.
Everybody okay with that? Wednesday, August the 12th?
Yes, that's fine.
Good.
Any more comments, questions, suggestions, observations regarding this Del Cora matter? Okay. Any, I guess there's no public comment? I haven't seen anything. I haven't gotten any emails. Let me see. Double check.
Hey, Ian, did you get anything?
Steve, it would be going to either you or John's email.
My last email is from Liz Springer, so. No, I have none. Thank you, Ian.
No, I have none. I do not have any. No. So that brings us to any old business that we have to consider. I don't have anything.
No, sir.
Any new business?
Yeah, I have a new business.
Oh, go ahead, shoot.
I don't know if anybody knows, this will be my last meeting. I'm moving, leaving the township. So
What?
this is my last meeting, and my anything that I've done over the years in Radnor Township. I will truly miss it. I've been a lot of years on different boards, and the people that I've worked with were either in staff in the township or the board members have been very near and dear to me. And I'd just like to say thank you.
Your service is going to be missed. You always made a great contribution, at least in the time that I've been on the planning commission. Really, you've been a really great source of guidance and help and insight. And we're going to miss you. Does your probation officer know you're leaving?
Yeah, she said that I had to leave. No, we bought a place up at Lister. We're kind of downsizing, and our settlement for Radnor is the 13th of August. So we'll this is, like I said, this is my last meeting.
Well, Charlie, on behalf of Radnor Township, we want to thank you for your service on the Planning Commission, the Zoning Hearing Board, and your other boards. You've been a stalwart and volunteered a lot of your time to this township, and it's greatly appreciated.
Well, the township is giving,
Charlie.
right, the township's given our family an awful lot also, so that's okay. It's a good trade.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I guess we can adjourn until the next time. And
Well,
Charlie,
then making my last motion, I move we adjourn.
all right. That's your favorite motion. I love it.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
Yeah,
All
thank
right,
you,
thank
Charlie. Bye.
Everybody be safe now, okay?
Congratulations, Charlie.
Okay, you too. Take
Congratulations,
care.
Charlie. Best of luck.
Thank you.
See you
Yes,
now.
good luck.
Bye-bye.